Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and on today's episode, we are back with another episode of Cheap Shots. This is a series that is dedicated to showing you how to save money on the miniatures wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, we're doing something a little bit different than I usually do with my Cheap Shot videos. Usually in my Cheap Shot videos, I show you how to save money with painting miniatures because, in my opinion, aside from picking at miniatures, painting them is probably the second most expensive thing that miniatures wargamers actually do. In some situations, some players are actually spending more money on the paints that they use to paint up their miniatures than the actual miniatures themselves. Now, you can go ahead and do that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's your money. You can do what you want. And if you like the way that a certain paint company works, or its brand, how it handles for your miniatures, or do you like the color scheme or whatever, more to you. It's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you're looking for a way to save money on the miniatures wargaming hobby, I do suggest using craft paints to paint up your miniatures because it's a lot cheaper to do so. But on today's episode, what we're going to do instead is that we're looking a look at several box sets that you could use for games of different game types from Games Workshop. Things like Kill Team, for example, is a very popular Warhammer 40,000 skirmish game. Games like the new boarding action system used for Warhammer 40,000. It's Warhammer 40,000 on a much smaller scale, where you're boarding enemy vehicles and there's a lot of close quarters combat. And at the same time, Necromunda. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. So on today's episode, we're going to take a look at the Elucidian Starstriders, which is a Kill Team box set that was released for Games Workshop's Kill Team. It came back in the previous edition of Kill Team back in, I believe, in 2018, I believe is when that game system came out. And now it's available for the current edition of Kill Team as well. This set originally was released with the Rogue Trader box set that was originally established in the re-edition of Kill Team a couple of years ago, and they re-released it I think in 2022 to be used in this current edition. So we're going to talk about this box set's contents and how you could use it in various games from Games Workshop. So with that being said, let's get this video review on a roll. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about why we're doing this series. The reason why we're doing this series, especially for my Cheap Shot videos, is because of a suggestion that was made by one of my viewers. His name was Dr. Drybrush. He suggested that I actually make a video about the Khorne Jackals that came out for the World Eaters box set. I actually put a picture of those guys up on my YouTube page and my community tab, talking about how those jackals will actually make really cool corpse grinder cultists just because of the way that they looked. And he was talking about like how it would make a really good slave outcast gang, and I agree with him. And he said you should make a video about how you could use those miniatures specifically to make that kind of a gang. And that got myself going through a brainstorm and coming up with some cool ideas about exactly how I could do that. Not just with jackals, but with any kind of box set that's coming out from Games Workshop, and how we could use them for multiple gaming systems. And so for this video, the Elucidian Starstriders seem like to be a perfect group to talk about, because not only can you use them in your games of Kill Team, which is one of the game types that we talked about earlier. It was originally meant for Kill Team, so you can use it for that gaming system. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure you could use these guys for Warhammer 40,000 as well. I believe they're under the Astra Militarum rules, or there's rules available online to use them in Imperial Guard regiments. So that's another gaming system you can use. And because you can use them in Warhammer 40,000, you should be able to use them in Warhammer 40,000 boarding actions, which is the skirmish level version of Warhammer 40k done on with ship boarding actions in the void and in space. So that's another thing you use them for as well. And another thing you probably use these guys for as well is, especially, which is one of my games I love talking about, Necromunda. Now, obviously, this would make a really good gang and a core of a gang to use for that gaming system. And because you come with some really cool, very interesting, very awesome looking miniatures. I mean, look at the armor on these guys. The Baroque nature of the armor with the animal iconography, the bordering, the armor plating with the scroll work on the armor plating, the weapons, the costuming. I mean, it just looks absolutely fantastic. These are beautiful miniatures. And if you do this paint scheme, they just look absolutely fantastic as well. So much detail and color that they make an very excellent gang to use in Necromunda. Now, in my opinion, the best way you could use these Elucidian Starstriders is by using them as outcast gangs, specifically. Now, I've done a whole series of all the different types of outcast gangs that you can make using the outcast system, pretty much on every single delegation there is. And so we're going to spend a little bit more time specifically how this box set could be used for those outcast gangs. Not only could you use it for an outcast gang, you could also use it for a delegation gang within those outcasts. You could possibly use them even as a Venator gang, because the Venators are bounty hunters and these guys look so unique and so different. You could definitely use them for a Venator gang very, very easily as well. You could also even possibly use them as bad zone enforcers if you want to as well. Bad zone enforcers being the police of the Necromunda out in the Ash Waste or in the very far sectors of High Primus where they don't get a lot of support. Now, personally, I think they're a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? Too, not eclectic, too gaudy, I guess you would say, or too ornate to be at a bad zone enforcer game, but who knows? Maybe these guys are just wearing relics from an older age, and that's what they're using for their system as well. So it's up to you how you want to do it. Specifically in this video, I'll be talking about using this to make two specific gangs. These will be outcast gangs, but specifically these will be noble house delegation outcast gangs, and how you could use the miniatures from this box set in order to make that system work. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the gang lists. Alright, so let's talk about exactly how you could use these guys for your games of Necromunda specifically. So not only could you use this for Kill Team and Warhammer 40,000, you could also make two different gangs out of this list as well. So let's talk about what this box consists of. So right over here, as you can see in my Word document, I have exactly what each of these miniatures are. First you have Elucidian Starstriders, which is the Rogue Trader, which is this character over here, with that really cool looking saucer-shaped helmet as well as the feathers. Very, very cool design overall. I really love the aesthetic that this character has as well. Then you have a Canid, of course, being this little navigation little dog over here, which you could probably pass off as a hacked cyber mastiff of some sort in your games of Necromunda as well. We have the Electromaester, which I imagine is this guy here with the little electrodes and the Tesla coils coming off of him. I imagine he's the Electromaester. We have a Rejuvenant Adept, which is this character over here in the lab coat, which I would say in this situation would probably make a good Rogue Doc miniature for your gang as well. We have a Void Master, which I imagine is this guy here with the really cool looking naval parade uniform with a shotgun as well as a last pistol. We have three Voidsmen with last guns, which I imagine these three guys back here, uno, dos, and tres. Those guys are packing last guns. Very, very cool looking as well. We also have a Death Cult Executioner. Forgot to mention that character, which I imagine this person over here back here in the back. She's got this really cool looking Asian inspired armor going on with the little head crest as well as the sword, the Dao Chinese looking sword, which looks really, really cool. And then we have a Voidsman with a rotor cannon, which obviously is this guy here because he's got a huge cannon. Now, in my opinion, the way that this gang is laid out, they'd actually make really cool, basically two gangs out of this. You could either make them a House Ulanti outcast gang, which I would highly suggest doing, or as a House Greim outcast gang. The reason why I say these guys would make such great nobles is because of the ornate nature of the costuming that they're wearing. I mean, look at this armor, for example. I mean, not only do you have these beautiful armor panels as well, but you also got this beautiful scroll work in the shoulder pamphlets. Like, look at this guy's kneecaps, for example, this knee armor padding, okay? Same thing with like this little cool little scroll work detail on the lab coats and the overcoats, for example. This is obviously a group that screams money, in my opinion. When I look at this aesthetic, what I think of is that these people are coming from wealth. They have enough money not to just have excellent equipment armor, but to look good at the exact same time. These guys care about how they look, and they're not afraid to throw some money around to make that happen. Now, that, in my opinion, matches the disposition of a noble house gang, especially if you decide to use this as an outcast gang of members that have been kicked out of the noble houses as well. And so now they're kind of roughing it in the streets of Necromunda. So because of that, using just this one box set, let's go ahead and talk about exactly what kind of gangs you're making. Now, I'm going to assume, of course, that you just want to purchase one box set of these miniatures, and that's all you want to do. So because that, my list will reflect the fact that it's a 1,000 credit starting list. Imagine that you're starting your adventures in Hive Primus and you're not going to venture out to the Ash Waste or anything like that. So let's talk about exactly what you do. Now, first of all, for the Elucidian character, this could be our Ulanti outcast gang, 1,000 credits. For Elucidian, she would make a perfect Ulanti courtier miniature, in my opinion. Now, the Ulanti courtier does cost 235 credits. This is going to be the leader of your gang as well. I mean, look at her. She looks like she's a noble, especially a noble outcast. Now, for this character, I would give her the survivor archetype, and the reason why is because the way that this lady is kitted out with her stats, she's excellent at close combat, which means your opponents are going to be spending most of their time trying to shoot her and stop her from actually shoot her instead of getting her actually involved in close combat. So getting that survivor archetype and giving her nerves of steel is going to be very important, so that way you can escape pinning and still charge in the close combat. because her gears would consist of a needle pistol, which don't tell me that looks like a needle pistol, and she also has a power sword, hence the sword over here. So she's got really powerful close combat weapons. She also has the displacer field to give her a 5-up armor save as well, which is going to be really nice as well. Oh, sorry, 4-up armor save as well. The only problem is that when she gets hit, she's going to be moved or displaced by the strength of the attack. And she's got the duelist special rule. The duelist special rule means that she fights first in close combat. Even if she was charged, she gets to fight first. She's got the counterattack skill as well as step aside skill, and you're going to give her the nerves of steel skill, so that way she can escape pinning, because if this lady is not charged in close combat, you're not using her right. Alright, so that'd be an example we could use for her. Now for the Death Cult Execution miniature, which is this person up here, you're going to make them into a mirror mask, which is actually the bodyguard for the Ulanti courtier. Now this is going to be one of your champions. It's going to cost you 225 credits, and just like the Ulanti courtier, you're going to give this person the survivor archetype, because they're going to be shot at quite a bit, and at the same time you want to take advantage of some of those skills that are available in the ferocity tree. Now once again, they're going to be equipped exactly the same way as the Ulanti courtier. They have needle pistols and power swords as well as displacer fields. However, they have the special rule, many faces. The idea of many faces is that if you want to get the courtier out of trouble, they can switch positions quite literally with the mirror mask, and the mirror mask steps in instead. And the cool thing about this miniature, I'm going to zoom in really quick, it's got this really ornate looking mask, which is really nice as well, which makes it look like that can explain why it's called a mirror mask. You know, the mask changes shapes and it gives the impression you're fighting the courtier, when in fact you're actually fighting against the mirror mask instead. And of course, the fighter does come with nerves of steel already as base, but you want to give them the berserker skill so that way they have the additional attack when they charge in close combat, just because the mirror mask is a beast in close combat, just like the Ulanti courtier is. Now let's talk about your next champion. You're going to use the Voidsman with rotor cannon to be your next champion, which is this guy over here with this really cool garrison cap, and I love that cannon. It just looks absolutely fantastic. Now this champion is going to cost you 210 credits. They're going to give them the survivor archetype as well. They're going to be a champion, so they cost 60 credits base. You're going to give them mesh armor to give them a 5-up armor save, as well as a heavy stubber for 130 credits. Now this gun could be used as a heavy stubber. I mean, just look at the body of it as well, and the fact that it's chain loaded, belt fed as well, automatically makes this thing a heavy stubber. You could make it into an auto cannon later on if you manage to get enough credits, or upgrade it to a heavy bolter if you want to. You can even say it's a heavy bolter. I mean, who's going to say otherwise? It's just a fancy heavy bolter is all it is. You give him a stub gun as well for a backup weapon, so it'll cost you 5 credits, and you give this guy the nervous steel skill. And the reason why is because this guy's going to be shot at quite a bit, so having that ability to escape pin is going to give him that double action he needs to open fire with a heavy stubber. And you're going to do that, of course, until you save enough credits in order to purchase a suspensor for this guy, so that way firing a heavy stubber just as a basic action. Now from there, your Voidmaster, which is this guy here with a shotgun, he's actually going to be just a normal outcast hive scum. He's going to cost 85 credits, normal outcast hive scum. He's going to cost 30 credits base. You'll give him mesh armor 15 credits, as well as a shotgun with solid shot for 30 credits, because, go figure, he's packing a shotgun. And a last pistol, because he's also packing a last pistol for 10 credits. Now, you're also going to use your 3 Voidmen with last gun. So these are these characters here, 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of these guys will be costing you exactly the same thing. All 3 will cost you 65 credits apiece. All 3 will be Outcast Hive Scum for 30 credits apiece. All 3 will have Mesh Armor for 5-up armor save. All 3 will have Last Guns, and all 3 will have Last Pistols. So they have an additional attack for close combat. My suggestion to you, because if you look closely at these guys' guns, they actually have sights on their guns. I would either get mono sights or get telescopic sights for their guns, as well as hot shot last packs as well. So that they have a strength 4 with -1 AP for their guns, make them very, very deadly, and that's exactly what I use these guys for, to do that. And you could actually do that, have enough guys in your gang to actually justify that. You have 4 fighters to offset your champions. Now then, your very last 50 credits will go for your Rejuvenate Adept, which is this character here. This character will be a Rogue Doc for 50 credits, because every single gang, in my opinion, should at least start off with a Rogue Doc if they can, just in case you get those critical injury rolls. You can save them. The Rogue Doc is perfect for that. And plus, look at the character. They're a doctor. They're medical officers, so it just kind of fits right in. Now, what that will do, of course, is leave you a couple of miniatures to spare. It'll leave you this guy here, the Electromaster. You can use this guy for an ammo jack, maybe, or anything else you want to use him for, maybe a bounty hunter. It's up to you. Or you can bring him in later on as another champion character if you want. And of course, a little cannon over here you just kind of keep to the side and bring them in later on as a hacked cyber mastiff, for example, if you want to do that little hang around, or whatever you want to do with it. So that's an example of one way that you could actually use this gang. Now, the other way you could use it too is by using them as a House Greim Outcast gang as well, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. So aside from being used as a House Ulanti Outcast gang, you could also use this box set to make a House Greim Outcast gang, in my opinion, as well. Now, House Greim, of course, is a noble house that views themselves as masters of warfare, even though their nobles never actually get committed to get actual combat. They study it and they kind of fancy themselves the armchair generals. So because of that, what you're going to use for these guys is that you're going to use these guys as a House Greim Outcast gang, and you're going to just need this one single box set. And with this one single box set, you'll be worth 1,000 credits for this gang. So once again, Elucia Vane, this character here is going to be costing 240 credits, and this character is going to be the Kriegmeister. The Kriegmeister is the leader of an outcast gang from House Greim as well. Now, you will make this person the Mastermind archetype. They're going to be packing light carapace armor, as well as a bolt pistol and a power sword. They have an Eye for War special, which means you can adjust your 2d6 rolls for scenario choices by +1 or -1 to help you out, to make it a little bit better for you, to get a little bit more advantageous in your scenarios. They have the Overseer ability, which is a very powerful ability just on its own, and they will give them the Munitioneer skill because of that bolt pistol they have. They're definitely going to need that reroll when it does pop up for them, so for their armor roll. So giving them Munitioneer is going to be really, really nice as well. Now, at the same time, you also have your Voidmaster. Your Voidmaster will also be used as part of this delegation, and they'll be fulfilling the role of a Jägerkin. Now, in a House Greim delegation, you have a Kriegmeister and you have a Jägerkin who acts as a bodyguard to the Kriegmeister. Now, the Jägerkin is considered a ganger level fighter in your gang, so this guy only costs 90 credits, but they're pretty powerful. They have mesh armor for that 5-up armor save. They also have a combat shotgun, which means that they have rapid fire salvo rounds as well as shredder ammunition, so it makes it a little bit deadlier that way. And they also have the bodyguard skill special rule, which means they take hits for the Kriegmeister, and they also have the marksman ability as well. I suggest you keep these two together as close as possible, as much as you can, because they have this guy fulfill the role of being a bodyguard. Now, on this list, your first Outcast champion will be your Electromeister. So we have our Electromeister over here. This is going to be one of our champions. This one is going to cost you 135 credits. You're going to give him the Gunslinger archetype, as well as mesh armor for that armor save. And you give him paired last pistols with hotshot power packs for 60 credits. So if you look right here, they got this really beautiful looking, ornate kind of revolver looking thing. And at the same time, you're going to be attending that this guy is packing 2 hotshot last pistols. And because it gives you strength 4 -1 AP attacks, this guy will be going in closer and close combat. He's a gunslinger archetype, so you give him fast shots. That way he fires twice with those pistols, putting out 4 shots in total with those hotshot last pistols, because shooting will be considered a simple action for him. Now, granted, he's going to suffer that -1 to hit to fire that second pistol, but with that good ballista skill, and you put him in short range, it does not going to matter, because those short range modifiers will help change that value and keep that ballista skill going. I suggest you give him gunfighter as quickly as possible for skills, so that way you don't have to worry about that penalty, but this guy will be definitely close combat oriented type champion. Now, obviously, your second champion is going to be your Voids with the Rotor Cannon, which is this guy here, because that's going to be a weapon that only champions can carry. He's going to cost you 210 credits, and just like our friend from the House Ulanti list, he's equipped exactly the same way. Survivor archetype, mesh armor, heavy stubber, stub gun, and nerves of steel. And just for the exact same reasons that we had for the first guy. Just kind of makes sense. These will be your characters here. Now, from there, of course, you will have your Voidsmen again, Voidsmen 1, 2, and 3. So we're using our 3 Voidsmen with guns. They will be our Outcast Hive Scum. They're equipped exactly the same as before. Mesh armor, last pistol, and last guns. 65 credits apiece. That mesh armor will make it a little bit more survivable. Those last guns and last pistols will even so. Upgrade those to hot shot weapons as quickly as you possibly can to make them even deadlier. But on this one, you will be using the Death Cult Executioner. I'm not sure why it has that little thing there. Let's go ahead and change that real fast. Your Death Cult Executioner will also be in this gang as well, but this fighter instead will just be another Outcast Hive Scum. This person's also going to have mesh armor, 15 credits. You're giving them the last pistol as well as a chain sword. So I know it's a regular katana or Chinese Dao, but just imagine that it's a chainsword in this situation. Use the power of imagination and use this guy as your close combat fighter as well. So in this situation, your assault team, when you actually divide this gang up into an assault team and to your fire teams, your assault team will consist of your leader, your Jägerkin, as well as your champion with the guns, as well as your Voidsmen with the your Outcast Scum with the swords. So these 4 here in the center would be your assault team. The other 4, which are your 3 Voidsmen as well as your Voids with the Rotor Cannon, that would be your support team in this situation. And in this one as well, you get to take a Rejuvenate Adept, which is this character here. She will be a Rogue Doc, which is one of your hanger-ons for 50 credits as well. She probably won't be participating in fights too much, but in case she does, she will be there to help out. Now, the nice thing about this list is that this one actually pretty much uses all of them except for the Canid. The Canid you'll have to purchase later on as the campaign campaign develops, probably as a hacked Cybermastiff, for example, and you can definitely use it for that as time goes on, of course. And that's an example of you guys of how you could actually use 2 different gangs from one box set. In my opinion, if you want to get the most bang out of your buck for this group, this box set, use them as one type of gang for one campaign, and once you're done with that campaign, use it for the exact same box set for a different type of gang. So that way you can see what it's like to play both House Ulanti or House Greim. So it'd be kind of interesting to see exactly how those guys would actually work out. So there you have it. This is how you guys could use the Elucidian Starstriders in your games of not just Kill Team and Warhammer 40,000, but also on the tabletop of Necromunda as well. Now, aside from using these guys as Noble House gang, you could also use them as a Venator gang if you want to as well. I'm just thinking about how these guys would actually look quite good as a Venator gang. You could possibly even use them as maybe Guild of Coin Operators if you wanted to. It just kind of depends on what you want to do with these guys. So if you're looking for a great way to use this one box set for multiple games, here's an example of how you can do so. I hope you found this information to be helpful, and as always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all those greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.